Over here in the grass. Make them work.
Don't say that you love me.
Police asked us to step back, but we wanted to show you the work that they are doing as we speak to try and get this bus back upright and to try and clear this scene.
This monument alone is 60 feet tall. So how do you fit a monument like that into a museum?
So listen to this. Police tell us about 15 cars have been broken into in the past week, but only 4 of those cars were actually locked. And here's the deal.
Crouching down, I'm about 3 feet high, or the size of a small child. Look out your back window, you can't see me. But using this, a rear view camera, you can.
He's convinced sports is the best way to kick off the summer on a positive note. You're paying attention to the presidential elections this time.
Oh, yes.
In your own personal opinion, who's best for the job?
I think Donald Trump would be best for the job.
For president?
Yes. The reason a lot of Klan members like Donald Trump is because a lot of what he believes, we believe in.
A pleasure to meet you,
Wait
sir.
first, Chris. Is my dude dead?
Yes, at 76 years old, Al Jarreau is still looking sharp.
As my mother used to say, you keep on living and one day you'll be there as well.
We really have to be our animals' advocate.
It takes everybody to do all this to have somebody out.
It was a major moment in the debate. Dr. Ben Carson saying that America needs to take on ISIS.
Told that the employee was not only a husband, but also a father to.
Many times, people with a newer car don't realize they have a key inside their vehicle.
I love my soldiers. I've commanded as many as 23,000 soldiers at one time.
Retired Colonel Poche L. Taylor Jr.,
which is essentially given away for nothing.
The city's rationale?
I saw my house.
And how did you feel?
Happy. I thought I was going to get kidnapped.
When they start burning those crosses on their own damn lawns, then I'll believe that this has something to do with Jesus Christ.
What can we do? It's got to be something that we can do.
It will be a video conference first appearance for Jesse Matthew, staying within the jail for the first charges against him. Those are the reckless driving charges, when police say he allegedly raced away from investigators in Albemarle County. And what about the abduction charge in Hannah's case? Well, Matthew's lawyer says he wants that hearing to be moved to December 4th.
Crews from around the country coming here to Maya Angelou's home. We're kept outside the gates, but we caught up with a former Wake Forest University student who studied here inside Angelou's home.
It really was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
There's nobody leading them, so we're calling for a coalition to form to fight ISIS, but there's nobody to lead it, so it's not forming.
That would mean a third war in Iraq in just over 25 years.
The bus ride home for Patrick Henry High School student Noah Spangler is usually uneventful.
As the bus pulled up, it started to rain heavier.
The ride home today was an adventure.
There was water that had overtaken.
They are the sounds of a physical game.
Make them work.
The most concerning, this one. Because from high school to the NFL, right now there is a major focus on concussions and the related health concerns.
A little hoggy, are we?
With crackers and care.
They eat right out of the hands.
Dozens of protesters bringing I-95 to a standstill during the height of rush hour.
Don't say that you love me. When I sing, people say I sound like a songbird.
And listening to her, it's hard to disagree. Richmond native Amira DeLandro is just doing what she loves. She's been singing since she was 12 years old, and last week on The Voice, sang her way right on to Team Christina.
I was very nervous. I was hyperventilating. I couldn't breathe, but, you know, Christina turned around.
She says she almost threw in the towel on singing after she was rejected at an audition for The Voice last year. It turns out the second time was a charm, and she got a call back.
Chris Ford's wheelchair couldn't power over the snow any longer.
I started losing the power in my chair. So I said, well, I hope I will make it home.
Instead, the man with one leg was stranded on the side of the road for 3 hours.
I know I'm cold.
Chris was returning from a dialysis treatment and several trips to the pharmacy. His battery ran out. Some passerbys tried to help but weren't strong enough to push this heavy motorized chair and the 160-pound man in it.
Nobody could come and push me. People were trying to stop to help me, but they couldn't push his chair.
I tried. All right, so now we're moving it. And
Yeah,
this
now
was
you
as
can move
fast as I could move the wheelchair.
But when you ain't got nobody around to help do this,
Enter Richmond officer Jordan Clark.
I tell you, he was God sent to me.
The second-year policeman and 7-year Marine did the only thing natural to him.
All I could think to do was, let's go, man, strap in, we're going for a ride.
Officer Clark pushed Chris several blocks to catch the bus. After he got off, the officer pushed him again to his home. Chris tells me it was a mile trek.
He really went out his realm of what he needed to do.
But Officer Clark says it was just routine.
I think it was nothing out of the ordinary as far as, policing in general, at least in the city. I think everybody has a kind, open heart.
He's the best police officer I ever seen. Yeah, that's the best what I ever seen.
Well, many of you, including some right here at NBC 12, have gotten these KKK flyers in your front yards. They read, "I want you for the KKK." We wanted to know what's driving this local recruitment. After all, the group's history precedes them. A warning, some of this may be hard to watch.
We are the Ku Klux Klan. We hate, we hate, we hate, and we hate.
The Ku Klux Klan has earned the dubious distinction of being named America's oldest hate group.
To this day, they've not disavowed themselves as being domestic terrorists. That's who they are.
The KKK marched here along Gray Street in downtown Richmond. Rallies were held right outside town.
They are still present with us today, and they keep secret. Everything is done secret. Well, if you got good intentions, you don't need to be secret.
Now the Imperial Wizard for the Rebel Brigade of the Knights of the Ku Klux Klan is breaking his silence, agreeing to a no-holds-barred interview, but only on his turf. We've now followed the Imperial Wizard here into a national forest. This is a fairly wooded area. And one thing I want to bring to your attention, right behind us there, we have a sheriff's deputy who is following us in an unmarked car, as you can see.
You know what that is?
It's not long before I arrive to find men wearing shirts proudly declaring they are straight out of Dixie and the original Boys in the Hood, with additional marked units standing by. I made my way up a long, winding pathway, thinking, what in the world have I gotten myself into? And then, hello.
Hello.
How are you all?
I'm fine.
Thank you for making time for us. With all of the aforementioned history in mind, I jumped right in. Does the KKK hate? Is it a hate group?
No, we are not a hate group. We hate no one.
You don't hate blacks?
No, we
You don't
do
hate
not
gays?
hate blacks. No, we don't like what they do, but we don't hate them.
And what about those infamous burning crosses? That put fear in people for
It
years.
put fear in people for years.
The lighting of the cross. And you're saying that was to?
The lighting of the cross symbolizes that through God's light there is no darkness in this earth. That's the light of God.
When they start burning those crosses on their own damn lawns, then I'll believe that this has something to do with Jesus Christ.
Richmond NAACP Education Chair Marty Jewell has a different theory.
They light those crosses for purposes of intimidation and to signal to other like-minded races that come join us because we're having fun over here.
The society today is more racial than we are.
As a matter of fact, the Southern Poverty Law Center says there are more than 30 hate groups right here in Virginia, including the KKK. But the Imperial Wizard says he wants to set the record straight on what some call a controversial symbol of hate.
This flag right here is the Confederate battle flag. This is not the flag of the Ku Klux Klan. This is the flag of the Ku Klux Klan. This all started over a little punk thug who went in a church and murdered a bunch of innocent people. That was wrong.
You may remember pictures surfaced of Charleston church shooter Dylan Roof waving a Confederate flag before killing 9 black church members.
He was a Nazi, skinhead. Neo-Nazis and skinheads are socialists. We are not socialists. We are patriotic American citizens standing up for our God, family, and country.
You said you're not white supremacists.
No, we are not white supremacists. We are white separatists. We choose to stay within our own race. We're not the big bad hate group that everybody thinks we are. I mean, a lot of people, as soon as they hear the words Ku Klux Klan, their mind just automatically goes back to the 1950s and 60s.
And you understand that, though. I mean, it was a pretty bad time.
It was a pretty bad time, but that was the 50s and 60s. We're living in a different century now.
Beginning with the origins in Africa and continuing through slavery, Reconstruction, the Civil Rights era, and into the 21st century, the Museum of African American History and Culture covers it all and now stands tall on the National Mall.
I'm so proud. I wish my mother could see. She passed, but I wish somebody could see this. This is the great. Good old gospel music.
Reverend Joseph Williams is the youngest living member of the Dixie Hummingbirds. The group is featured here in the museum. That's your Grammy?
That's your Grammy. And when everything else fails, you know, Mama loves you like a rock. That's what we got the Grammy for.
Dixie Hummingbirds.
That's right.
There's actually an entire exhibit called Musical Crossroads that tells the story of African American music from the arrival of the first Africans to today's hip-hop.
Our young people have to know the story. The track that all this music is running on is gospel music.
And so members of the media have been given access to the museum to try and show you some of the more than 37,000 artifacts that have been collected here at the museum. And listen to this, 3,000 of those artifacts will be on display, including this beauty, Chuck Berry's Cadillac Eldorado.
And I think what makes it surprising is that this museum started with no artifacts, and in 10 years that's what we've collected as a baseline for the museum's foundational permanent collections, and we'll be continuing to collect.
And collecting artifacts like this Jim Crow-era train is no small task. There was the nerve-wracking 3-day trip from Kentucky to D.C., and then crews actually built the museum around the rail car, saying there was simply no way to get it inside the building once it was completed.
In terms of complexity, on a scale of 1 to 10, this is absolutely a 9.9.
Thanks to all that effort, visitors can now walk through that train car for a one-way trip back to a difficult time in our nation's history.
Even though this was first class, and even though the ticket prices were the same for both parts, this one made you feel inferior.
When the visitor walks in the car, this really becomes an experiential way to understand firsthand what segregation meant.
And then the stories of true African-American heroes take flight with this plane, one of only a few remaining aircraft with direct ties to the Tuskegee Airmen, men whose heroics helped pave the way for the integration of the U.S. military. The plane once used for training, now on display in the nation's capital.
It's small in terms of plane, but it's big to be in the building. Yeah, they had to take it apart and put it back together.
Had to take it apart, put it back together.
Yeah.
Finally, we're getting our just due.
And the Reverend says he's just happy he's around to help celebrate the official opening of the National Museum of African American History and Culture.
I feel great. I'm 78 and I feel like I'm 20. No, I get the Lord. But no, I'm to see all this, to live to see it. And I think that's why I came, because I want to make sure the story is told straight.